tonight on the Final Play. The Saints' spike competition got a change-up tonight at Tulane's Yulman Stadium, with the preseason opener just 4 days away.
Part of this is creating the right environment, the right competitive environment.
We're looking back on the first 10 days of practices and ahead to the first live action in Cleveland. Plus, a look back on a magical weekend for the Great Dane, Morten Andersen.
I will always be a part of New Orleans and always a Saint.
And practices are underway in South Louisiana. We'll check in on a few programs and get a visit in studio from Willie Fritz. It's all on the Final Play, and it's all right now.
From Fox 8 Sports, this is the Final Play, sponsored by your Southern Quality Ford dealer, built Ford tough, and Nissan, innovation that excites.
We begin tonight's Final Play uptown at Tulane's Turchin Stadium, Yulman Stadium, where the Saints have taken over for this night at least, as they did a couple of years ago. Training camp was moved on campus, switching things up a bit for the players and allowing the fans, thousands of them, to see the team up close and personal.
Listen, I thought it was great. We did this 2 years ago. I think when we got back, allows more people to be at a practice, and it also, allows them to be out of the sun. So with the schedule we had today, there was a lot of meetings, a lot of recovery aspects to the morning, more meetings and a walkthrough, and then I thought overall it was pretty crisp.
What a way to kick off tonight's Final Play. I'm Juan Kincaid, and here we are now entering game week for the Saints. The preseason kickoff against the Cleveland Browns is just 4 days away, and as ramped up as things have seemed since camp opened back on July 27th, it's about to hit another level this week as the players, who are no doubt tired of hitting each other, will get to test themselves against someone else. Here's Chris Hagan.
As we embark on the first game week of the preseason, we're starting to get a clearer picture of this year's black and gold and what they're all about. For the passing game in particular, on both offense and defense, an extra dose of competitive drive is serving them well, even if they're getting under each other's skin.
We notice on film they get to keep spiking the ball, and we don't like that. So we just compete, and we love them at the end of the day, but we just got to out-compete them.
We all getting better, but at the same time we're competing, So, yeah, it's like I say, man, it's us against them when it's out there. It's all love at the end of the day. When we go back in that locker room, we're all a team. But, we got to get it every single time.
Though it's caused a few skirmishes and tempers to flare in practice, the back and forth that wide receivers coach Curtis Johnson and secondary coach Aaron Glenn created is something that Coach Payton says can benefit them.
And I think it's good. Part of this is creating the right environment, and the right competitive environment. And, oftentimes we as coaches have to lead in doing that.
Just as constructive and positive has been one of the unknowns coming into camp at left tackle. Rookie Ryan Ramczyk was drafted 32nd overall with the vision of eventually assuming the right tackle role. Now taking a lot of snaps with the first team in place of the injured Teron Armstead, he's given the Saints hope that they won't take too much of a step back without their Pro Bowler. But at the end of the day, Payton says both the starter at left tackle and Zach Strief on the other side will have their work cut out for them in a league full of strong pass rushers.
The left tackle is protecting the area the quarterback doesn't have as much vision. Depending on your opponent, when you line up and go play a team that's best rusher is over on your offensive right, then both tackles, there's times where you can help with chips and bumps and ways to help take a little bit of the edge off the rush, but both of them have tough job descriptions, and certainly they're drawing some real good rushers.
In fact, they'll face the draft's top overall pick and a powerful edge rusher, Myles Garrett of the Cleveland Browns, this Thursday. It'll be the first test against a live opponent and loud crowd noise, which Payton introduced to practice on Friday.
I thought overall it was okay. We're late with a few snaps. Our get-offs, it's typical when you start doing that at the very beginning. You see that you have a lot of work to do with it.
We'll see how they handle their first bit of it in just 4 days. Reporting on the Saints, I'm Chris Hagan for the Final Play.
Always nice to have with us Herbie Teope from NOLA.com and the Times-Picayune. This team moves practice to Tulane today. It's a nice change of pace, but what does it mean for the players?
For the players, it means an extended rest because now they've had a good afternoon, a good solid morning, especially after Saturday's brutal, hot and humid conditions. Saw a lot of players leave with cramp issues, so practicing at night will probably be pretty good for them.
So let's talk about the news of the day. And I can't remember the last time we began a segment talking about long snappers and kickers, but they bring back Justin Drescher, a guy that's been with this team before. We know how good of a player he is. They cut 2 players. Is this kind of a sign of how serious the problem was at camp?
I think you're absolutely correct, Juan, because remember last year they had some special teams issues, especially with block kicks and a lot of the blocking issues. And you saw what the Saints did there at the start of the year. They signed Jesse Schmidt to a reserve future contract. They signed Chase Dominguez as an undrafted free agent out of Utah. And then they brought in Thomas Gafford after mandatory minicamp, all the while Justin Drescher was an unrestricted free agent. What you have now is the Saints are saying, look, we were not satisfied with the 3 players we brought in. Let's go back to what we know, and that is Justin Drescher, who's been a long snapper for the Saints for the past 7 seasons.
What we know is that Will Lutz has been very good at kicking the ball in training camp, but they go out and get Patrick Murphy, kind of come in, watch your P's and Q's, stay on your toes, continue to be very good. Otherwise, there's another opportunity for someone else.
And I think you're absolutely correct, Juan, because Sean Payton has said it throughout the offseason, they want more competition. But for this instance here with Patrick Murray, a kicker out of Fordham, I don't think he's going to be actually competing with Will Lutz. It's been hot and humid out there, so it makes sense to give your guy who is Will Lutz, who has looked pretty solid out there, kicking 50-plus yard field goals with ease. This is an opportunity if the Saints desire to give him some rest in training camp and alternate some kicks.
What do you think is the biggest concern as they head into their first preseason game week?
I think their biggest concern is trying to figure out a lot of these roster position battles because, look, you're entering the 10th day of practice, and right now there are still a lot of open spots. But this is what the preseason is for. This training camp and preseason is an evaluation process, but I think the coaching staff, especially the media and also fans, would like to see some position battles settle.
I know you talked earlier about how going to a practice at night today would help the football team, with the heat and humidity. So how concerned should we be with Marshawn Lattimore and Delvin Breaux? Those 2 guys haven't been on the field in almost a week.
Yeah, and I think with Lattimore, I think the concern is more with Lattimore. Lattimore came out of Ohio State with a lot of injury issues, and there are a lot of concerns about the hamstring. Thankfully, his current injury is not to the hamstring. As Sean Payton said, it's a tweaked knee. However, when you invest the 11th overall pick on a guy like Lattimore, who comes in here highly touted as a press man corner, as a guy who can help the Saints in the pass defense, which is one of their biggest problems coming off of last season. I think Lattimore is the bigger concern. Delvin Breaux, as a veteran, I think, there's not that much of an issue because he already understands the scheme.
What they have seemed to figure out is that A.J. Klein is likely going to be their man in the middle, so the concern is what's around him right now.
Yeah, absolutely correct. When you look at through the first couple of weeks of training camp, there's been one constant at the linebacker rotation. The Saints have run a lot of people through there with the exception of A.J. Klein. Klein has been with the first-team defense since the start of training camp.
There's a lot of talk about the running backs in this training camp, and for good reason. You've got 2 guys, 1 and 2, that are pretty good, but Alvin Kamara seems to be a pretty good purchase at the 3rd-round pick so far. He's showing a lot of things that this team really needs to be shown.
And one of the things he's showing is the ability to catch the ball out of the backfield. Sean Payton has always been on the lookout for that satellite-type running back since the days of Reggie Bush and Darren Sproles. With this guy, goodness gracious, I was watching him the other day in practice, one-on-one against a linebacker, it's not even fair. Stephon Anthony tried to lock up against him. He split out wide right. No contest, just blew right by him. Craig Robertson during 11-11s blew right by him. He's going to be a matchup nightmare.
So they're preparing for the Cleveland Browns' first preseason game on Thursday. How might practice change this week? How do they change things leading up to camp? Does it at all? Do they take into factor the heat issues and injury issues and all that?
I think it's a combination of both, Juan. What you'll probably see, though, is a lot of the 2s and 3s getting a lot of reps leading up to the preseason game against the Cleveland Browns. Because if you blink, you're going to miss Drew Brees and the starters, quite frankly. It's the first preseason game. Those guys aren't going to see a lot of the field until the 3rd preseason game. These first 2 preseason games are all about the backups, so that's probably the only thing that's going to change in the days leading up to that game is we're going to see a lot of 2 and 3 reps.
Every night on Fox 8, we always show you the plays of the day. I want you to break down this play for me. We're going to show you right now.
Hey, Beat Street Breakdown, baby. That takes you back to the Rocksteady crew and the New York City Breakers. Hey, I like that. What do you think about that?
I think it's pretty good. I think it's pretty good. It reminds me of the movie Breakin', one of my favorites back in the 80s. Hip Hop Herbie. Hip Hop Herbie Teopia, our guest here on the final play. Herbie, thanks, buddy.
Hey, thank you so much.
Looking for the worm next week, Herbie. It's now officially game week. The preseason opener is Thursday at Cleveland. Then another road game with the LA Chargers on Sunday the 20th. The Black and Gold are back in the Big Easy on 26th for a Saturday night kickoff against the Houston Texans. Then it's the Ravens to close out the preseason schedule. Our coverage starts at 6:30 each night. Still to come here on the final play. Oh, what a night for the Great Dane. Morten Andersen's Hall of Fame induction ceremony from Canton, Ohio. And our Sean Bazan was lucky enough to be there. And later, we head on campus and check in on LSU and Nicholls State football. And Tulane head coach Willie Fritz joins me in studio. Stay with us.
You're watching The Final Play.
Good evening, Canton, and good morning, Denmark, is how Morten Andersen began his Hall of Fame speech, where his dreams of playing in the NFL began and where decades of success in the league ends with the ultimate recognition of getting the call to the Hall, which he did over the weekend. Sean Bazan has more from the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
A fresh reminder that kickers are Hall of Famers too. Morten Andersen.
First came the vote.
It's time for a gold jacket for Pro Football Hall of Famer Morten Andersen.
Then came the gold jacket. And then came the induction to the Pro Football Hall of Fame for Morten Andersen.
I have great admiration for the spirit and attitude of the people of New Orleans. They taught me, even through hard times, to love life and stay positive. I will always be a part of New Orleans and always a Saint.
Andersen joins the Black and Gold Brotherhood here in Canton. It's an exclusive fraternity that only has 3 members. Andersen,
a bigger linebacker with the Saints,
Ricky Jackson,
and all-decade choice twice,
and Willie Rowe.
Andersen played an astonishing 25 seasons.
Andersen came to the Crescent City in 1982 and rewrote the franchise's record books over 13 seasons.
Those were formative years for me when Bum Phillips took a chance on me back in '82 and drafted me in the 4th round. And he drafted me really on the heels of a kicker that didn't work out very well for the Saints, Russell Erxleben. And I'm not throwing Russell Erxleben under the bus, but it was a decision. And with that as background, it was important that this one worked out for the team. It didn't look very good in the beginning, let me tell you. I got injured on my opening kickoff. I was out for 8 weeks. They had a strike, and I had a dismal preseason stint. It was terrible. I thought I was going to get cut before I even had a chance to do anything. But, you know, Bum was patient with me. Hunter is the holder. On its way. Good!
That patience paid off, as did Andersen's with the Hall of Fame. For 4 years, Andersen was a finalist, only to be denied.
Morten Andersen's jacket is up, and it is good.
Year 5 was finally the one. It was long overdue.
It's a big thrill to meet you. I enjoyed watching you play.
I appreciate that, man.
Especially to Jackson, who knew just how important the Great Dane was to the Saints' success in the late 80s and early 90s.
We depended on him so much to win ball games because, you know, we wanted a high-power offense, so we would get in the range where he can win the ball game for us, keep us in the ball game. He was the best kicker that ever kicked football, and Stenerud was in, so I know he was going to get in sooner or later. They just took him a little longer than what I thought.
The group will likely stay at 3 for a few more years. And when it's finally time to add a 4th, there's little doubt who it's going to be.
Drew Brees will be next, so, you know, we'll have 4 in, so it's coming. They're getting better.
Andersen's enshrinement comes the same year they unveiled the Tom Benson Hall of Fame Stadium. So an organization that had no representation here until 2010 now has a firm foot inside Pro Football's Hall of Fame. From Canton, Ohio, I'm Sean Fazan for the final play.
From Canton to camp, we've got all of your Saints coverage on the Final Play app. Keep an eye on it throughout the day for videos, blogs, analysis, and slideshows. And you can download the Final Play app now from the App Store or Google Play. Coming up, the latest on the LSU Tigers as we drop in on the Tigers' fall practice. And later, optimism is extremely high uptown, where Willie Fritz has bowl aspirations. The Greenies head coach joins me on set a bit later on the Final Play.
play.
This time 1 week ago, fall football practice kicked off all across the boot, and that includes up in Baton Rouge, where LSU got back to work 7 days later, and their first full team scrimmage is in the books. Garland Gillen has more.
According to Coach O, in LSU's close scrimmage, Danny Elling was 5 of 11 passing for 86 yards Saturday, with a 32-yard touchdown pass to Darrell Williams and a 28-yard scoring strike to Russell Gage.
I thought he did fantastic. I think we missed a long ball, would have been a touchdown. Obviously, it was on the money. We should have caught it. I thought his pass was on the money. He was under duress all day.
Ogeron was also high on true freshman Miles Brennan, but also saying the number 2 quarterback spot is hardly decided.
We've had him working on some second-team reps to see what he can do, give him a chance like we told everybody. Justin McMillan's been working second team, Noel Narcisse. All those guys that work in second team, we've been as fair as we can with the reps that we can for right now in camp.
Darius Geis was given 7 carries on the day, and his job is no doubt safe as a starter. But his backup is still a work in progress, with one freshman getting a lot of pub.
Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who's actually been a surprise at camp. What a tremendous player. We feel that he's going to be a great young man. I guess it was about 3 days ago he had a dominant day. His first day out there in pass, it was a dominant day. He had maybe 3 runs over 60 yards.
For the first time, Coach Ogeron discussed the departure and disappointment of Maya Tahumi. Tahumi had some academic issues and some other things going on. He left the program earlier this week.
I wish things would have turned out different. And I want to let you know, on LSU's part, and on my part especially, and the players' part, we tried everything we could to keep him here.
The lack of depth on the offensive line is becoming a bit of a challenge when it comes to scrimmaging. But there's still about 4 weeks to heal and figure it all out before the season opener against Brigham Young. For the Final Play, I'm Garland Gillen.
Coming up, Nicholls State football is expected to go as far as Rummel's Chase 4K can take them this season. We'll take you to Thibodaux for a check-in on the Colonels. And Tulane coach Willie Fritz will be here to give us an update on his more experienced football team.
You're watching The Final Play.
About a year ago this time, this young man right here, Willie Fritz, head coach of Tulane football, joined us for the first time because he had just gotten in town, just gotten fall practice on the way. So now we fast forward 1 year later. How's it different for you?
Totally different. You know, that second year, this is the 5th program that I've taken over, and the second year is just so much easier. The guys understand your philosophies, what you're trying to do in offense, defense, kicking game. They understand your approach to how you handle things academically and off the field, and it just is much, much smoother. And now a meeting that took an hour last year takes 10 minutes. So very far ahead of where we were, last year at this point.
So you're about a week into camp now. Tell me what's been the big surprise to you with this new group here?
Well, I really think we signed a great class. We added 28 guys. Obviously, the majority of them are freshmen. I think all of them are going to have an opportunity to play, some right away. But at some point in their career, they're going to be very fine players for Tulane. So I was hoping we were going to have that type of talent, and we really do.
I know you mentioned in the preseason, and you've kind of been driving it home with your players, the bowl game has to be the goal this year. What's the biggest challenge to getting to that point?
Well, we've got a tougher schedule this year without question. We were playing a bunch of schools that have been in the top 25 at some point in time over the last 3-4 years, and we just got to get better in all facets, and then obviously we got to get better on the offensive side of the ball.
I was going to start with that, with the offensive side of the ball, and everything right now is kind of centered around your quarterback. You've got a new kid in Jonathan Banks, a transfer coming in. Glenn Couillette is still there. He was the starter last year. Is it a mistake for people to automatically assume that because Banks was brought in here and you struggled passing the ball last year, that it's his job to lose?
It really is right now, and those guys are pushing him, and obviously we're just practicing right now. But he's done a good job. He's separated himself a little bit, and he's been very impressive in spring ball, summer workouts, and then now this first week.
The adjustment that Banks has had to make, when we talked to him this week, he said that I'm actually talked to him back in the spring. He talked about how he was more of a pro-style quarterback, but stepping into a triple option offense. Is that a huge adjustment for him?
Yeah, it's an adjustment for him, but he ran a lot of option at the junior college that he was at, so we saw that. If we hadn't have seen that, we wouldn't have recruited him because that's not our style of offense. But the thing I'm excited about with him is he's got enough speed to get the ball on the perimeter, and it's going to be hard to take down. There's not a whole lot of quarterbacks with his speed and size combination, and it all starts with the run. If we can run the ball effectively, it really opens up the offense for the pass and also some different type of run plays.
On the other side of the ball, how do you replace Nico and Tenzel? I mean, those are two pro players, very talented. It's a lot of production. Yeah. Is it more about spreading out the work there? Maybe the whole sum can equal what those two gave you?
Yeah, you're exactly right. Those two guys will be in Tulane's Hall of Fame here in probably 5-10 years. Great football players. The thing that we're fortunate with our defense, we've got 14 guys who've started at least one ball game for us in their career, and we feel like we've got pretty good depth.
This is your 5th job, but in every place you've been, it's always seemed like the second year has been a huge difference from the first, most times better. When you first evaluated this Tulane program before you took it over, did you see it as a university where you can come here and in year number 2 you should see significant progress?
Yeah, you always hope that. Heck, we wanted to have that type of progress in year 1. We had 4 games where we went in the 4th quarter and we were within a touchdown or we were ahead. So that was disappointing that we didn't finish as well as what we were capable of. But there's no reason why Tulane University shouldn't be great in athletics. We've got a great location. I mean, this is a hotbed of high school football in any direction that you go, and we've got world-class academic institution to sell, and plus you get it all to do it all in the city of NOLA. So we got a lot of things to sell here.
Once again, the Grambling State game, the season opener at Yeoman Stadium on September 2nd. Coach, we appreciate you being with us.
Thank you.
All right. Down in the Bayou tonight, they're thinking about what could be at Nicholls State. The Colonels were a surprise last year, finishing with a winning conference record for the first time since 2005. A big reason why then freshman QB Chase Forcade playing like a seasoned vet. The Rummel grad is expecting even better things going forward.
I thought we came out with a fire, but us progressing each and every day. After practice, working on routes that we just need to work on, and there's little things that's gonna make us a great team in the fall. So I'm really looking forward to every day coming out with a fire and with a passion, energy, and wanting to be out here and really progressing every day.
The Colonels will be the first in the boot to kick off the season, hosting McNeese State on August 31st. And that's our final play for tonight. For all of us here at Fox 8, I'm Juan Kincaid. We hope you'll join us again next Sunday night for the final play.
From Fox 8 Sports, this has been The Final Play.